Now that I've hit live, I asked I asked anyone if they heard me say a word, and now I'm going to give a different word, and that word is rose. And if someone can type that word, that would show me that the audio is working even when the hummingbird camera is off, because I would hate to say something compromising before the show starts, especially since sometimes, yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm about to start. I'm actually waiting until 10:30. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks, guys. Roses everywhere. I love it. Before I hit the button, I said if you could type chrysanthemum, which cracked me up because I could not type chrysanthemum, honestly. If someone was to ask me to type chrysanthemum, it would burn some calories. It certainly would. All right, great. I got a great email just now, an invite to the new UATV. Dear unauthorized Feed the Bear subscriber, you are now invited to alpha test the new UATV server. The current content is very far from complete, as is the feature set, but we have already incorporated the audio-only feature that many subscribers have been requesting. We have 163 videos already on the site, including 64 from the Big Bear and the Unbearables, and more being uploaded all the time. Pretty sweet. My temporary password... just kidding. One of you type chrysanthemum. Damn. Chrysanthemum. I don't even know if that's right, Ripson. I would assume that it is right. Right on. Pretty cool. If anyone else got their unauthorized invite, that is beautiful progress. Beautiful progress. And I'm going to start because I'm going to say hi first. Let's see here. Show. Hey there. James True here. We all know why we came. We all know why we saw. We all know why. Oh, I just missed a hummingbird. I was checking the audio. Got to get my multiple fingers going. Yeah, man, unauthorized. I tell you, if there wasn't a better example for the gift of Baal, it is unauthorized TV. Watching them now, there's a different spelling chrysanthemum. That looks more right. I think David might have it there. I think he might have it. Man, I'm gonna miss this other hummingbird because I was on the wrong screen. Oh, there he is. Trinket, my friend. You've earned it. You've traveled far. All right. Thanks for being here. Congrats to unauthorized.net and to Owen Benjamin. Like I said, gift of Baal, right? As they shut you down, it gives you the power to rise back up. That is a powerful metaphor. It's a beautiful day here. It's a beautiful day where you are. I can feel it. I can feel it through the electricity. And I can see it all around. The trees are buzzing. Keep in mind that when you see a tree, you are actually inside the field of the tree. To see a tree is to be inside of its field. And I am surrounded by trees. I'm surrounded by goodness. It's a beautiful day. I'm able to open the window early this morning because it wasn't super cold. And I've been looking forward to joining you guys today. I haven't even started and I've already got a super chat. Thank you, Rough Rider Bear. Brace yourselves. Ooh, look at that ugly thumbnail I made. Look at that. That is a drawing by Dr. Seuss. And it could not... I will add that I'm the one that added the Star of Rimfram on the left. I did that. That was an editorial decision by yours truly. But it's because this image encapsulates the golden child and the scapegoat. But James, I'm listening to a podcast. Why are you talking about an image? There's a golden child figure on the left, and he's got a Star of David on his coat, and his beard is connected to a Grabbler-looking guy on the right who has a swastika on his coat. And this is actually a drawing by Dr. Seuss. And all I did was just add the rim-frame star to the left because it's the perfect... Oh, thanks, James. Appreciate you thinking about us as being podcast listeners. Yeah, you're welcome. It's about time, right? It's about time I thought about that, huh? Speaking of which, I have no idea if people listen to my podcast. It gives me no tracking. It gives me zero, zilch, any kind of feedback at all. In fact, one podcasting company has written Spreaker or I don't know, someone to say, oh, you're too big. We're not going to broadcast you anymore. And so I need you to know that for the podcast listeners out there, I'm publishing my podcast. Every show gets published, but I have no idea if you guys even hear it. I did see 2 reviews that have come in, which is great. That's the only sign that I have that the podcasts are being ingested, which is fine. I will keep posting them, but I don't really have a revenue set where I'm like going to pay someone to host my podcast. Just so you know that that's where it's at. And don't worry, we're not going to dwell on the podcast thing. But thank you for those of you who are listening. And I'm assuming that the volume's good. We got to get into it. We got to get into it today. I want to start by telling you guys some good news about consent. People keep forgetting this. Ladies and gentlemen, everything they have done to us has involved coercing our consent. Every step in the game, we've been asked to abandon our sovereignty, and at every step, we have said yes. This is the reality on the ground. This is the truth of what it is. And those of you pushing that they are coming to get you, I need you to understand that most of us have voluntarily let them inject swine parts into us with no force at all. Not one bit of force, not one bit of evidence that vaccines have ever been shown to prevent a disease. That's not an exaggeration. There has never, ever been a scientific proof that a vaccine has prevented a disease. Not once, not ever. Even during polio, Tom, I hear you out there, even during polio. In fact, if you look at the numbers, you will find that sanitation was strategic in cutting out the rumor that we call polio. Rumor? I'm sorry, but I have to say that because if you really look at the history of polio, you will find that it's at very least 2 distinct diseases, but more like 5. And they were all clumped together into a subset that was called polio. And it was marketed to you, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker. And that's why it's important to realize that no one is coming for you with jackboots. No one is hiding behind a tree. No one has dug a pit and covered it with sticks and leaves and placed an apple on its center. That's not what's happening. The people that say that's happening are self-soothing because they do not want to admit how stupid we are. Well, we, not them, we. How stupid we've been. This is part of the gift of Baal. The shame that you feel from falling for such nonsense is supposed to burn. When your elbow gets a boo-boo, it will burn, right? When you skin it on the asphalt after riding down. Okay, so we built a slip and slide on our driveway. It was a concrete driveway, and me being the youngest, I was the volunteer for the launch, and we had not concluded what would happen at the end of the driveway as the slip and slide transitions from a black plastic bag to concrete. That was a decision I made of my own consent. But after I felt the burn, after I rubbed my skin off my chest like deodorant, into the asphalt, I was pained mostly by the fact that this was my choice. That I decided, hey, this is for you, James or Jimmy. This mission is for you. And as I looked to my peers around me, they all nodded their head. Jimmy, we've thought about this, and this is the right call for you. So ride that slip and slide, and ride the lightning, baby. Right? It was a decision I made. But for days, I might have blamed it on my brother. I might have blamed it on my neighbor. I might have blamed it on Matt Hilke. I might have blamed it on a number of people. I probably did. I probably did blame it on them, actually. Why? Because I wasn't willing to admit that that was my call. And that's really what we're looking at when it comes to the field of play around us. The Bill Gates boogeyman, all of these systems that you're seeing in place are going to require your consent. And what scares us more is that we will give that consent away as easily as we gave it away before. That's a gift of Baal. The gift of Baal is recognizing your own weakness. You see this house. I don't keep certain things here. I do not possess the ability to store donuts in my home. That's madness. That is the most insane thing that I've ever tried to do. I lack no capacity for storing bread in this house. It is simply something that I cannot fathom. I cannot do it. That's a weakness in my consent. It's not the fault of the poor man that has to get up early to make the donuts, is it? Some profound stuff coming today, right? Right? So, let's review. They are here to secrete your consent. They're here to stick their finger under your chin and wiggle until you spit out the words, I do. And that is the biggest threat, my friend. That is. Man, that's too bad that that's not working. There he is. Look at that. Man, I got to get that camera working. Speaking of which, be right back. I'm further away now because of the Doppler effect of sound. Now I'm closer again. I forgot the light. So, this is good news. Okay, the bad news is you're kind of an idiot. So I'm talking like to us overall as a species, right? Humanity. The bad news is you're kind of an idiot. You're like, someone came up to you and said, hey, I'd like to stick swine parts in you. Are you okay with that? And you said, again, speaking of humanity, and you said, is that a white lab coat? Why, yes, it is, said the swine needle raper. And we looked at him and said, let's do it. Let's do this. And that's why it's such a farce to look at this as being a battle between evil and good. In fact, if you were to look at the definition of evil, you will see that it means feeble. It would mean one who cannot store donuts in their house. That would be a technical definition of evil. I, James True, have evil in my life. There are no donuts here. And what happens? I turn that evil into good. Guys, you've got seeds everywhere. It's everywhere. You're fat. It's like donuts. So, consent. It's all you, baby. It's not them. It's all you. Hey, look, he's a greenback. Look at that. Right on. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. There's two of them, see, and they're upset because one's on the lawn chair and one's up here not on the lawn chair, but there's seeds everywhere. Anyway, we could get on the show. So that's our lesson in consent. By the way, I was listening to Dr. Kaufman. Shout out to Dr. Kaufman last night. He did a great interview on Rogue Ways. And he said, don't quote me on this, prune my lips. Prune his lips, but prune my lips before you prune his lips, especially about this. But Dr. Kaufman said that this new vaccine, the vaccine for the coronavirus that they're talking about, it's going to be the first of its kind. He's calling it a genetically modifying vaccine, which is going to turn you, I'm speaking to humanity again, it's going to turn you into a GMO, right? A genetically modified human, a GMH. And I just want to give you a warning. If you go that route, I am going to call you man, bear, pig. I've decided I'm going to call, again, speaking to humanity, I'm going to call you man, bear, pig if you decide to go for the coronavirus vaccine. The corona vaccine gets you a label of man, bear, pig. Okay? And I realize for all you bears out there, you're probably concerned about the fact that bear's in there. We can change it to man, pig. Okay. If you get the corona vaccine, you will be man, pig. Yeah. So I'm glad we've decided on that. I'm glad that we all agree. Let me find the chat. Everybody good? Everybody good? Yep, everybody's good. All right. I'm trying to get serious here. Gosh, where do I even start with this? Just go for it, right? Before I do, let me just remind you that your consent is a secretion, like a silk. And the Pharaoh has learned how to secrete that silk from you. And you give it freely. Slavery itself. Thanks for this, Simon33. You can't handle the truth. Thanks for the super chat. Seeds, indeed. This secretion, the silk of your consent, is the very, very same fibers used to make the web that holds you to it. And as we're about to see, we have been here before. We have been here before. We've been speaking about Lord versus God. Lord technology versus God technology. And I've been telling you that there's a reason why Lord is allowed to be mean to you. That the Lord can actually fool you, while God can give you compassion. That this is necessary for you to grow. And that actually your spiritual growth is actually a combination of God and Lord. Furthermore, I've shown you, or I've suggested to you, that Lord technology itself is something that we chose. We built we built Lord technology a long time ago. And my friend Satan is your personal trainer. He's your kung fu master. He's your Mr. Miyagi. And you have been offended because he has told you to get on the slip and slide. And there is not a pool at the bottom. He has told you to wax on and wax off. And you forgot that you signed up for this a long time ago. You forgot. And that's why I've been reminding you about it. And that means that we get to look at what Lord truly is. Lord is the referee. God is the coach. And these are different roles. Your mother is not going to show you how to do everything. You need something else for that. You need something that has a different approach, a different mission with you. You need someone. You need someone to go, hey, would you like some swine parts injected into your child? What do you mean, James, we need that? We need that, as I've said before. Why do we need pedophilia? Because of how poorly we react to pedophilia. Why do we need vaccines? Because of how poorly we react when someone offers us a vaccine. Why do we need awful government that lies to us? Because of how we deal with a government that lies to us. All of these are gifts of Baal. And if you process them correctly, you end up with unauthorized TV. If you process them incorrectly, you end up explaining that there is an elite underground cabal whose sole purpose is to find a way to enslave you. But because you're so cunning, and because you're America, you've been able to outwit this psychopathic killer who has done nothing but lied and imprisoned people their whole life. You end up with this different version of what the world's really like, when the whole time it's been consent, 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 consent. You give your consent, you get knocked on your ass. You give it, you get knocked on your ass. Over and over and over again. Right? Berserker Bear, Buffalo Dustin, thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. It all comes down to us developing our discernment. That's why we're here. Both of these guys want you to have discernment. Both of these guys need you to have a discernment. Both these guys have set up this entire gym for your discernment. Earth Dojo, Gaia Dojo, Gaia Dojois. That's where you are. You are in the Earth Dojo. And you can fantasize about it. You can cry about it. You can whine about it. Or you can embrace the challenge. And you can realize, hey, I can get a lot done here. There's a lot of things I can get done here. And it's going to start with compassion for your sensei. It's going to start with compassion for the very person that's offering you vaccines. Because it's so easy to get lost on the idea that they were forced on you. Because it feels better than admitting that you chose that way. But this is not a class to beat ourselves up. This is a class of unlearning. And what we've done is we've taken the Bible and we've learned to look back and say, wow, look at the human condition. It used to be $315 was required if you raped a plump, ripe virgin. That's the penalty, right? We've learned to see how far humanity has come. From sacrificing our own, from sacrificing animals in exchange for crops because we didn't want to learn how to irrigate. Like, honey, maybe we should route some of the water from the stream over here. Don't be silly, woman. Clearly, we have to sacrifice one of our children. Clearly, we need to take our favorite goat and slit its throat. What madness do you speak of? But honey, I'm pretty sure that if we bring water over from this stream, it's witchcraft. It's the human condition. It took us a while. It took us a while to get to the point where we were smart enough where all we were doing was injecting swine parts in each other. You've come a long way, baby. Look at you. Now all you're doing is injecting swine parts in each other. But hey, you're wondering. Some of you are going, hey, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Maybe it wasn't. So we're learning, my friends. We're learning. We're learning. And what we're learning about the Bible is that there's certain things in the Bible that were told to us that are not true. Just as our mother told us Santa Claus was real, or the Tooth Fairy was real, or the Easter Bunny was real, it gave us a controlled atmosphere where we could learn discernment, where we could learn to find our way through the world by learning not to rely, right? By learning not to rely on what mom said. That was a gift of Baal. All of these gifts of Baal are crucial to the beauty that you see in this world. Because there is a sanctity in watching someone's child who has no vaccines, right? Who's never been genitally cut, who isn't being raised in a state school, who's drinking water from a well his father tapped. Like, that is the promise of Zion. That right there is all it takes, right? Living in that realm is Eden. The Garden of Eden. What are we doing right now, friends? We are planting gardens. All of us are planting gardens because of why? Because of the gift of Baal. The gift of Baal is making us realize that Zion is right here. It's making us notice that all they're doing is asking for our consent. And all we have to do is stop giving it. On that note, I would like to recommend that all of you stop voting. I believe that voting is purely a consent extraction ritual, and that by voting, what you're really doing is kind of lying to yourself and pretending that beautiful cardinal, by the way. I gotta get this camera fixed. Beautiful, beautiful. His that's the girl, and the dad's right there. Oh, the dad might be there. No, the camera's slow. It's not showing. Sorry. These are all gifts of Baal. Look at me. Look at my Eden I've got. I've got hummingbirds. I've got red squirrels. I've got gray squirrels. I've got cardinals. I've got chickadees. I've got lemon twisters. I can't think of the name. I call them lemon twisters. This is Eden. But when you have these pillars of Zionism, when you have these two, what is this? This is the pedestal and the scapegoat. James, I'm on a podcast. Okay, back to that image, the thumbnail image. Pedestal, Star of David, scapegoat, swastika, right? Thanks, James. No problem, Potters. No problem, potties. I wanted to say this yesterday. You cannot hide the truth. Because of the energy in this world, because of the energy that we're learning to see right now in real time, you cannot hide the truth. You can only cover the truth. You can only cover it. Remember how we talked about this stone obelisk and it's wrapped in all this kudzu and poison ivy and thorny oak and whatever? You cannot, the kudzu cannot cut down the shape of the cross in stone. It can only cover it with something else. And as we learn to see energy, we learn to see, hey, if we look at the shape of the kudzu, it tells you what's hidden underneath. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you learn to see that. And when you look at this image, just by looking at this image of the pedestal and the scapegoat. I mean, I was nervous about even putting it as a thumbnail. In fact, this thing could easily be demonetized and thrown off. I want you... Oh, man, I wasn't recording. Dang it. Start recording. Dang it. Oh, all days. I meant to hit record. I've been putting these on BitChute, but I get 3 people see my videos on BitChute. That's why I'm on YouTube. I'm a dirty, dirty boy. Now, this system of pedestal scapegoat has been used to hide the truth. It's been used to hide the truth. And in order to do that, we have to look at really the tenets of Zionism itself. Because Zionism is the side effect of the narcissism that results from being called a chosen people. That's what Zionism is. It is a side effect. Now, the chosen people is not a good role to have. All right? The chosen people were liberated from Egypt and sent to the desert for 40 years, where all they ate was manna. And they lost their bowels stopped working, and they became addicted to monoatomic gold. They became addicted to it by eating manna for 40 years. And they became the grabbler. Why? Because after 40 years, the monoatomic gold stopped. The honey stopped flowing. And they tried to go back to a normal life, but they couldn't. Why? Because they developed a fetish. Why? Because they thought they needed manna to survive. Why? Because for 40 years, they were told, you can only survive if you eat this manna. And we see that today in greed. We see that today in cities like Venetia, right? That made it illegal for anyone to use gold. That became the property of the state, and all you could do was have a representation of gold. It leads to the kind of greed that you see surrounding Hollywood, surrounding Washington, D.C., surrounding our military interventions. The military-industrial entertainment complex is completely the result. Hollywood is complete. I'm talking about the ritual Hollywood is the result of a fetish for gold. Monoatomic gold ingested into the body. The world's first heroin. Monoatomic gold. And the side effect of being escalated like that, the side effect of being a genetic drug addict is Zionism. And you end up with Zionism, you end up with people like Charles Kushner. We've talked about Kushner. It's weird how Jared Kushner's dad paid 2 prostitutes $25,000 to seduce, record, and blackmail 2 witnesses. Even weirder, he was trying to leverage one of his relatives. The smallest of worlds appear when you find out the U.S. attorney who nailed him was Chris Christie. Kushner is well versed in the art of blackmail, extortion, and sex tapes. Anthony Weiner knows this kind of leverage all too well. So too does Epstein and Clinton. Why did CNN miss the chance to print Trump's in-laws convicted of blackmail? Because of Zionism. Because of their fetish for Israel. This is a great quote. The Kushner case was one of the most loathsome, disgusting crimes that I prosecuted, and I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey. Yeah, Squirrel gets it. That was Chris Christie. When you realize what Zionism does, when you realize it turns raccoons into men, gay raccoons into men, or shadows of men, I should say. When you have every billionaire in the world, good or bad, turning their eyes to Kushner and calling him a hero, you see a massive worldwide ritual unfolding, pointing to a pillar of Israel, showing you that Israel is the way. Even if there's blackmail, even if there's crime, even if there's a felony count, excuse me, it doesn't matter. Because anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. It's an actual quote from this douchebag on screen. Sorry, I forget his name. You can read my article, though, here. Trojan Horse of Zionism. It covers this. There's so much hidden behind Israel. And this is why I tell you that you can't erase history. You can only cover it. And it gives you a clue to what's there by looking at what's been covered up with so much. Guilt is a blanket, a wet blanket placed on top of a smoky fire. And when you see that wet blanket, you know there's wampum underneath. You know there's something good under there. Why would they invest so many calories hiding it? But we're not able to ever see that because we can't look at the Jew with critique because of the guilt involved. Even when Rabbi David Weiss says a Jew is not a Zionist, we still are too afraid to look under that blanket. I'll play this video. Tell me if you can hear this, if you can't hear this.
Was destroyed by Hurricane Harvey, you can get emergency funds unless you support the boycott of Israel. I'm not joking. 21 U.S. states have passed similar laws, which ban state funds going to people or businesses who choose to boycott Israel, a country which a recent UN report has labeled an apartheid regime. But America was born on boycotting. Remember Britain? Taxes? Tea? Ring a bell? And now, survivors in Dixon, Texas, filing for emergency funds, have to sign a contract stating the applicant does not boycott Israel and will not boycott Israel during the term of this agreement. The state government is plainly telling its citizens that either they get to keep their right to boycott or they can get help rebuilding their homes. What kind of choice is that? Strong-arming folks who have just suffered a disaster, lost everything, into signing away their constitutional rights for the term of this agreement, which is what? Forever? And it doesn't stop there. A church in Kansas recently urged its members not to buy products from companies which profit from Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine. A math teacher who is a member of this Mennonite church has since been barred from working as a state contractor after she refused to say that she wasn't boycotting Israel. How can a government punish a people for what amounts to a thought crime? Imagine civil rights proponents in the 60s being told, you either buy cookies from the KKK or you don't get electricity. Or women in America's suffrage movement being granted the right to vote as long as they don't push for equal pay. Remember these folks? They lived in a senior citizen home in Dixon. If they were that Mennonite church collectively boycotting Israel, would the government just leave them to drown? Sorry, y'alls know the rules. You buy from Israel or else. And let's get something straight. It should not be illegal to boycott Israel. It isn't anti-American and it isn't anti-Semitic. It's an individual's choice which the free and fair government of America should keep out of. Because without boycotting, where would America be?
Sorry about that. I might have... Sorry about that. You might not have been able to see that for a few seconds because I clicked on the wrong window. This is real, right? We know this. Preaching to the choir, right? This is real. This is, look at all the states that have said, we will never disparage anybody. We will never say anything critical, I should say. We will never say anything critical about Israel. Statewide. You guys know it's a felony now, right? If you were on the USS Liberty as a naval veteran and you were invited onto a campus on Florida to come tell your story about what happened, as of June of last year, it became a felony by unanimous vote in the state of Florida to say what happened. to walk into the class in your uniform as a veteran, as someone who survived a war of this country, you are committing a felony by walking on to a campus where school children are and telling them what happened to you that day on the USS Liberty. And that me, as a veteran of the Navy, I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut about what happened on the USS Liberty in the middle of the day when that ship was bombed by Israeli fighter pilots. After radio communication was established, there were 3 or 4 sweeping SWAR days where they came back in and they annihilated a ship in broad daylight with American flag colors flying. And it is a felony to tell people in that classroom what happened. And this happened last year. Unanimous law passed. There actually was 2 laws passed that basically enforced this idea. And it's, where does it take us? As we keep giving our consent, as we keep voting for this Leviathan, we're left now where ISIS itself is a terrorist organization run by Israel. Love that guy. ISIS, a terrorist organization run by Israel. Do you realize if we were to actually fight terrorism, if the truth was actually out there, technically it should be anti-Semitic to oppose ISIS. Because ISIS is Israel. But I'm not even here to talk about that. I'm not. It might look like it, but I'm not. But before we get to the main thrust, let me throw something else at you. Let me throw something at you. Jews against Zionism protest New York. Every year, a lot of Jews show up. And God bless them. No pun intended. God bless them. Because they show up to protest Zionism. They show up to protest the state itself. They get it. They get it. And tell me, who's more Jewish? These guys? Or this shitbag? Who's more Jewish? This guy? Or these guys? Right? You're being told that if you want to help these guys who are telling you to please reject Zionism, that you have to listen to this white guy. And all those calories, all 27 states that have these laws, all of these calories have been applied because something really, really important is there. There's something underneath the wet blanket. There's a truth that's been hidden from you. And that truth is Lord technology. And of course it's going to bother you because Lord technology is kind of bad. When I say bad, it's a dojo. It's here to make you fear the Lord, not praise Him. Case in point, if you do a search in the Bible for the phrase, love the Lord, you will find it 17 times. If you do a search in the Bible for fear the Lord, you will find it 42 times. Love the Lord 17 times, fear the Lord 42. If you do a search in the Bible for the phrase love God, you will find it 5 times. If you do a search in the Bible for fear God, you will find it 21 times. This is Lord technology. You fear your trainer. You love your mother. God is the circle. You love your mother. The star of Remfram is your trainer. You fear what he's going to do to you. You're on the lookout. You are all systems, right? Your crew is in full alert when Lord comes to town. Right? When God doesn't even come to town. God is town. When you rest in that comfort, that is God. But when it's conscious time, it's Lord time. It's training time. You are in a dojo, my friends. You are in a dojo. And you consented to be here. And I'm glad you're here. And when you look at it this way, when you see the gifts of Baal, all of the pain sheds off you, the false pain. I'm talking about the pain that's inflicted on you because you feel like either you've been broken, or because you're faulty, or because you've been condemned from the moment you're born, or because you're evil, or because you're going to burn in hell for the rest of your life. All that goes away now because you realize all of this was made as a dojo for me, for all of us, that we are living in this collective dojo that's making all this growth possible. It's making us learn the sanctity of life. How? By watching us react when a woman places her child in a giant golden calf statue. How do we react to that? Well, at first we were like, oh, I should do that too. And we did that a while. And the Canaanites are part of us too. Everything that ever happened to us is part of our collective experience. And if we're going to pretend like, well, that's what they did, not me, then you miss the lesson of Baal. But it's okay, because just like the Aztec Tower, you have Planned Parenthood right behind you that's literally doing the same things that you say, oh, Aztec human sacrifice, that was just such a disgusting time. Those were savages. We are so much more sophisticated now. And we are. Okay, we're not pulling each other's hearts out at the grocery store. So that thumbs up. But we're generally mutilating our boys and saying it's because we don't want you to get pee-pee cancer. So we haven't gotten there yet, right? We've been fine-tuning our gifts of Baal. Some of us have been paying attention. And you're advancing in belts, right? You've gone from your white belt to whatever belt's next. I don't know what belt's next. But you're moving up. You're advancing in this war for your discernment. And you realize now that this is not about enslavement. This is about consent extraction. And when you understand it's about consent extraction, you suddenly hold the reins to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You were freaking on that chariot, just like, whoa! And you now have a decision to make, don't you? Because you're riding the lightning, buddy. You're in the cockpit again. And of course that's going to be scary. The adrenaline a pilot feels is something that the pilot has to go through over and over and over again. Because he doesn't want to dump that adrenaline. He wants that adrenaline to give him sight. Did you know that, okay, these numbers aren't right, but it's like what I mean is numerically these aren't right, but just bear with me. The retinas are capable of seeing 200 frames per second. Like if you could register like frames of information, the retinas themselves are capable of a resolution of 200 frames per second. You and I, we will typically see the world at about 40. It's actually, they say that 24 frames, but really like 40 frames. We're closer to seeing things at 40 frames. However, our mind isn't processed at 24. The point here is that a jet pilot has an average of about 60 frames. Maybe it's even 120. It's a lot better. And why? Because they're in the cockpit with all that adrenaline and they get a chance to own it. They're not core dumping the window and opening it. Like, oh, I got to get this energy out of here. I need to fucking calm down, man. Right? And they would never be a good pilot if all they had was God. They would need some Lord in there to fine-tune their system, their endocrine system. That's the joystick. Your joystick, you're in your cockpit, your joystick is your adrenals, your endocrine system. These systems are giving you the amperage, the limbic amperage, to negotiate lightning fast, just bam, super fast. But you got to be ready for it, man. You got to wax on, wax off, right? You got to be ready for it because it's coming. It's going to hit you in the face. And you can either cry and whine about it and say, that wasn't fair. Or you could realize, actually, that was completely fair. Why did I walk around the corner like that? I know this guy's around. I know Lord Technology's here. Why am I pretending like he's not? Why am I pretending like everything that I'm told is truth? But sometimes someone lies. Why am I still in that freaking ridiculous rut where we're like, no one understands my wife beater like I do. He's just misunderstood. And sure, he might beat me today, but you don't understand. You don't know the kind of person he was. He wouldn't do that to me. And that's where so many of us are stuck in this world, where we're consenting, but we want the world to think we're not. When I was in 8th grade, I would walk home from school, and maybe 7th grade. I was in 7th grade, and I would walk home from junior high, and there was a 9th grader named Tracy, and she wore so much black eye makeup that it took a while. Like when she opened her eyes, it took a while for her pupils to dilate, to adjust to the light in the room because of all the mascara. And she typically kept her face like caked with white. I used to have a real big issue with chicks wearing makeup, by the way, growing up. I still do. But like it sounds very point is that I couldn't even see her. She was covered in makeup. And she would dangle herself on the porch of this house like a siren, an 8th grade siren. She was in 9th grade. It was in 7th grade. And she would dangle herself on the porch like a siren. And when boys would come by, she would coax them closer. And she would tell me this story about how Steve was beating her. How Steve was this awful human and he was trying to kill her and she was really afraid. And I bought that yarn every day. I'd bring her lunch from school. I think I went to Handy Andy once for her. I completely fell into the drama, the triangulation of it all. It felt like the right thing to do. Not once did I ever question that maybe she was the one who was feeding on me. It never occurred to me. Why? Because I wanted to feel like the world was how I'd been told. That everything I could see was honest. The damsels had boobies and bad guys had penises. And that was the only system that was ever at play. And I fell for it, like all of us do. And by falling for it, we either have to go to Handy Andy to buy her soda or something, or we're sticking each other with swine parts, going, how's that feel? Oh, I feel better. I think I feel better. That's some good swine. That's some good swine. It's we could be foolish as little or as much as we need in the dojo, right? Because you're in the dojo, baby. You're in the dojo. You can have your pants pulled down accidentally. It's fine. You're in the dojo. That's why we're here. It's exactly what this place is for. But we gots to wake up. And I don't want us to even stay on the idea that, oh, well, Zionism is bad. But I'm actually getting somewhere deeper. I'm actually trying to get somewhere deeper. Maybe it's taking me too long. But it's this idea that love and fear are two different instruments of growth. And Lord Technology uses fear, and it's not doing it to necessarily to be evil. And I've thought that for a long time. But what's happening is it's a gift of all. It's constructively making you learn to discern something as important as your own cosmology, salvation, religion, all of it. It's making you question that. And it took your penis, the tip of your penis, to figure it out. It took some swine vaccines. It took the no longer having the fear of damnation. It took listening to the veteran who tells you what happened to him, who swears his story is true, and he can corroborate it with other veterans what happened to him that day on the USS Liberty. It takes a lot from you, a lot of compassion from you, to overcome your resistance to look critically at the golden child, to look critically at what information might be hidden below. Why was the Great Pyramid left out of the Bible? Heliopolis was 20 miles north of the Great Pyramid. That's a camel ride, one day. Why was Heliopolis in the Bible, but the pyramids not? That's one. Lord Technology is going to lie to you because it wants you to use your discernment. And the biggest clue it's giving you is the Great Pyramid. Fact one, the pyramid's not in the Bible, Heliopolis is. Heliopolis is a day's walk from the pyramid. Please do not tell me, well, no one saw it. We're just like, yeah, man, there's nothing out here. What's that pointy, shining, white marble mountain? Dude, that's a mirage. Dude, that's a mirage. I'm pretty sure that's like a structure down there. Dude, you obviously didn't cut your penis off enough. That's a mirage. That's one, the pyramid. Number two, there's never, ever been any evidence of soot found on the ceilings or the walls of these pyramids. And these pyramid wall ceilings are very, very high, like 3-4 story high, sometimes even more. And there's no soot. That's two. Number three, the Baghdad Battery. You've seen examples of these clay jars, right? Where inside the jar they've got copper, rings of copper, and it's put in a salt solution. And it's been re-engineered to prove that this is a small electrical device. It's very akin to having something that you could walk around with on your phone. That's number three. Number four, Saqqara. Saqqara. If there was ever more of a clue, it would be Saqqara. Let's take a look at Saqqara. Saqqara. Saqqara is north of the Great Pyramids, and inside Saqqara, you have gigantic sarcophagus. I mean, big. Look at this. Can you see her? See how big that is? Huge. And they're out of a special stone that wasn't from around those parts. Sorry, I don't know the name of the stone, but it actually doesn't matter. And these things were colossal. We don't even know how you could even lower them into these pits. Okay, Saqqara's like layout. It's like a long trench, and off to either side are like different rooms. And in each of these rooms is this giant sarcophagus. And the sarcophagus has facets cut on the stone in such a way to prevent it from cracking. And the immense weight, look at the lid. Look how heavy the lid, look how thick that lid, oh, I should show you that instead. Look how thick that lid is. Look at that. That is so thick. 100-ton box. Right? This is just north of Egypt, and it's all underground. The tomb of Osiris is underground. Saqqara is underground. What's in there, right? What is that for? And the answer is Israel. The answer is those of you on the podcast, we have to catch up here. The answer is Israel. What is Israel, James? Is Isis, the Ankh, Ra, the sun god, El, electricity. Isis, Ra, El. Is, Ra, El. Israel. Israel. Electricity. Magnetism. How would you light all these temples, the Temple of Osiris, the Great Pyramid? How would you light all these underground tombs? You do it with electricity. They saw everything as a god then. Electricity, was their god. It glowed. And if you want to know what Saqqara was about, I'm going to tell you. Because Ra, the god of Ra, although some of you know Ra's the sun god, to be more precise though, Ra is actually the pale horse god. Ra is actually the Nantahala. Sorry, you guys don't know what it means. He's actually the high sun. Okay, most of Egypt was built into fives. A lot of symbolism was in fives, and Ra was one of 5 aspects of the sun. We've talked about this. When you die, you west, right? You were westing. You don't die. You were westing. You enter your role into the Styx. That your sun is still alive, but it's no longer Ra. It's no longer high. It's no longer the Pharaoh's sun. It is Set. Get it? Set is westing. Okay? Ra was the god, the bull god of Heliopolis. All right? He came from Heliopolis. In between the Great Pyramids and Heliopolis is Saqqara. And my friends, inside those giant tombs, they would place a bull. A big, big, big bull. And just like they knew how to embalm things, they knew how to ferment things. And the reason why you have such a colossally heavy cap on Saqqara is because you're supposed to put a bull inside, and you're supposed to close this lid. And when that lid closes, what happens? The bull begins to ferment. And when you ferment, you swell. And when you swell, but you're under a 100-ton lid that's airtight, you create massive amounts of piezo electricity, right? Piezo electricity. Piezoelectricity is electricity embedded in crystal, and it has an input and output. One input is pressure, the other input is electricity. If you know what an NPN transistor is, or a PNP transistor, you will understand that that is the very heart of piezoelectric effect. The most rudimentary NPN transistor is actually quartz. Because if you pressurize quartz by, say, the power of a fermenting bull, that pressure emits into electricity. And that, my friends, is how they lit these tombs. These were lit by Israel. Is the Ankh. Isis is the Ankh. Ra is the pure raw power of the sun, the light itself. El, or the bull, I should say. El, the electricity that flows. The alchemy of the bull, the sacrifice of the bull gave them electricity. And now we can use our discernment to unwind what truly was the Exodus. Because we say that everyone was enslaved to Egypt. But were they enslaved? Like, were people really, really running around with jackboots, throwing them to the ground and injecting their ass with swine parts? Or were they intoxicated by the Pharaoh? Was the electricity of Egypt enough to make it a sacred city? The Great Pyramids were a mecca for an older version of Babylon, for a different system of technology. And the chosen people were liberated from the Pharaoh in the same way you would be liberated from vaccines in Babylon. And when you stop shopping in Babylon, when you refuse to wear a mask, you were faced with having to become a butcher. You were faced with a plan now, a new apocalypse, where you are required to make your own way. And that is hard. It is hard because we're now admitting that consent is the reins of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We're admitting that this is all on us, that there are no chains keeping us here. There were no chains keeping Jews in Egypt. Their exodus required 40 years of detox from the god El, electricity. I'd like for you to look at this right now. On my screen, I'm showing you I just did an image search for how's a transformer made. And I find it profound that if you look in these top 3 drawings, you will actually see that in order to make a electromagnetic transformer, you're going to need laminated steel core with 2 holes in it. And someone should give me an amen, because when you look at these 2 holes, it is literally an E and an L. And when you place the E and the L on top of each other, but you flip it each time, L goes one way, then L goes the other way. L goes one way, L goes the other way. L goes one way, and L goes the other way. And then you run a copper coil through that. My friends, you've just invented a transformer. Holy fuck, right? L, electricity. Transformer, it's right there. It's right there. If you've been a chosen people, it becomes your duty to do things that maybe aren't nice. If you are working for Lord technology, not God, for Lord, right? Lord is going to see if he can coax you into taking swine parts. Lord's going to hide things from you. Lord's going to make you use your discernment to stop trusting him so much. Lord's going to use the image of the golden child to secrete your consent, just like the Pharaoh. The Exodus was a creation of a new Pharaoh, and it required a 40-year addiction to monoatomic gold. It's cool stuff, man. I hope you guys are thinking that. It's cool stuff. It is so cool. Because it matches everything up, and there's not even a bad guy. I love it when I can explain things and there's not a bad guy. It tells me that I'm onto something. It tells me that there's truth there, because I have compassion for everyone in the room. Everyone in the ring has compassion as to why they would do this. We have to escape the Pharaoh because his electricity, El, is stopping our people from going on their own. We have to find a way to separate, to pull ourselves out of this Babylon and start anew. And in a lot of ways, the Egyptians went from the Israelis went from one form of slavery into the other. And that truly is what Golden Child Syndrome is. It's slavery on a pedestal. And the reason why it's so painful is because no one will ever see it. No one will ever admit that that is slavery. It's just too hard to take on that responsibility to ourselves. So just like every generation that wants to take over a land will burn down its library. That's one of the first things you do. Just like in all the Old Testaments, when you had everyone who wants to cover up everyone else's tomb with broken bones, you're erasing their history so they lose their power. My friends, if you look up El, if you look up Isis, you're going to find a profound name in there. Make sure I get this name right. You don't want to screw this up because it's important. Which one was it? I want to make sure I get the right one. As you know, Isis was the wife of Osiris, right? She gathered up all his pieces except for his penis. Which circumcision, I'm just saying, interesting. But El herself goes by another name that you've heard of before if you've read the Bible. By the way, people who tell you to read the Bible, a lot of times they don't actually read the Bible. Not all the time, but a lot of times. El goes by a different name. She doesn't just go by the name El, or he, she. It's kind of a multi-sex god. But the most important name I want you to see is this right here. Asherah was her consort. Asherah. And if you read your Bible, you know that there's been a massive war by Lord Technology against Asherah. El herself would later become Kronos. Not later, but the Greek equivalent to El is Kronos. El's children would be Ashtar, Shapish, Baal, Athart, Hadad. You're going to find those people in the Bible. You're going to find that there is a technology war and a hiding of important data and the end of one addiction to Pharaoh and a new addiction to blood. A new addiction to animal sacrifice on Passover. A new addiction to Zionism. A new addiction that the entire world is broken and it requires us to come cleanse it. A new addiction to germ theory itself. And all these truths are there. They're all right there, guys. But we have to have compassion to look at both sides. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Formidable Jake, keep spreading the gravy. Thanks for the super chat. The well-read poet, enlightening as always, helps galvanize my resolve for the quest I'm about to take. Good luck, well-read poet. Good luck. May the truth serve you. You're seeing a list of my patrons on the screen. These are the last 3 months. It's certainly not everyone that's been helped out. It doesn't include these great super chats. I don't mean to disclude you guys, but I don't know who's going to super chat when I write this. But these are patrons that are supporting me, and I'm very grateful for them. I also want to point out that they do not necessarily agree with me. That's what makes them so lit, is they don't even necessarily agree with what I have to say. But they've put me in this chair, and they keep me here, and I'm really, really thankful for that. And I'm really thankful for all of you guys taking the time to discern and look at this stuff with me. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. I hope that you guys got your thanks, James and crew. Thank you, Kieran. And I hope that you guys got your unauthorized net invite. I sure did. And let's keep crushing on these gifts of Baal, all right? Let's keep doing that. You guys take care. Oh, not streaming tomorrow morning or Sunday morning. I'm going to try not doing weekends. It seems like my Sunday stream's pretty slow, and I don't want to give you guys too much of me. So just a note, you'll see me on Monday. You might see me doing a different kind of stream, but I'm just talking about these morning streams. I think I'm going to try that with just 5 days. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your day. And Israel. The entire word has been a secret. The entire word is showing you